suppose one question would be how many takes is enough? When do you stop? Because sometimes I've had this specifically with guitars, right? Where because I'm an okay guitarist, but I'm always searching for that perfect take, and sometimes I need to know when actually, you know what, enough's enough. How many takes is too many? I suppose that's a good question. But I'll get your thoughts on it, Tim. What are your thoughts on comping and just that process?
You're listening to the Inside the Mix podcast with your host, Marc Matthews.
Hey folks, welcome back, or welcome to Inside the Mix. It is summer and it is very, very hot. Today I'm joined again by my good friend from the Southwest, Tim Benson, aka Aisle 9, and we're here answering a question from you. And the question is this: how do you organise takes? Say you have 3 takes for a vocal track. Do you do that in the editing phase and then get rid of the unused takes for the mixing phase? So if you're ever stuck sorting 10 vocal takes at 1 a.m., I don't know why I put that in my notes, wondering which one was the right one, this episode is for you. So that is the question. But before we do that, Tim, how are you? How are things?
I'm very good, thanks. I've had a rather relaxing weekend, sort of bit of a birthday weekend on Saturday. It was my birthday, so I've just been chilling out and hanging around with family, and it's been very nice. Yeah,
very nice, very nice. We were discussing off air how hot it's been because we're recording this day after the heat wave, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which was.
Yeah.
I'm glad we didn't do this yesterday.
No.
Because in here it would have been disgusting.
It's pretty roasty in here. I'm in the eaves of my house, and so that's where my studio is. So it's pretty roasting even.
Oh, mate, our bedroom is in the eaves of our place, and on the first floor it was 28 degrees. So and it was a few degrees warmer up in the eaves, and then we got a cat that can't go outside. So we can't have the windows open. Oh dear! So I'm just sweating and just disintegrating before my very eyes.
We got a handy thing for like windows that you can't open because animals will dive through them.
Tell me more.
We got a mesh type thing, like a cloth mesh that you kind of pin all round your window, and then in theory a cat, or in our case a dog, doesn't jump through it. But that's the theory.
Does it work well? Because I considered this, but then I thought, my cat, would he scratch his way through it? He's a bit of a beast.
Yeah, that is true. You see, cats are clever enough to scratch their way through it and round it or something. Dogs aren't really clever enough to do that. But the problem with dogs is they are stupid enough to just jump into it, and I'm not sure it'll really hold him. So I just sort of see this cartoon dog flying the other way or something. I don't know, but we haven't seen it yet. Yeah,
Sorry, go on, mate.
No, we got a baby gate. We've got this new rescue dog that is part whippet, and we got a baby gate to stop him coming into our kitchen when we're cooking. Only to sort of be sitting in there cooking away, going, "Oh, it's great, we got the baby gate. Why is the dog in here?" He just straight over the gate, just ignored it, and did it 4 more times, and we just went, "Well, that's rubbish, isn't it?" So just that doesn't stop a whippet, It's just not bothered.
I do have visions of that. Yeah. I toyed with the mesh over the window, and I thought, you know what, I can just see him leaning against it, and then he'll go out the window, and then he's straight onto the sloping roof, and then it's just 2 floors to the ground, and I don't think he'd do well with that. I kind of look out the window, and I think, mate, you can see it sloping. What do you think is going to happen if you go out there? Well, obviously, the animal doesn't see it that way, but there we go. Anyway, on to the topic of this episode. Before we do that, folks, as always with these, because this is, I don't know how many times we've done this now, but anyway, if you do have a question, we'd love to hear from you. So you can click the SpeakPipe link in the episode description and send us a voice note or a question. Again, with SpeakPipe, you don't need an account. You can use your mobile phone, just like sending a voice message. Alternatively, there is a link there, and you can just send a message through. So you don't actually have to use SpeakPipe if you don't want to. If you just want to send a message, click that send a message button, and you can just send a text message, I guess they call it. No one's actually ever used that yet, so you could be the first if you try that. But do put, because I've never used it, if you do that, make sure that you put your name at the end of it so I know who you are. So back onto this topic. So we're talking about comping. So we're going to talk about what we do when we comp, how we clean up takes, and why leaving just in case takes can backfire. I've got that in my notes. I've never really had that backfire on me, so I'm not entirely sure why I put that in there, but I must have put it there for a reason. So comping vocals, or just comping in general. Now, admittedly, I work in a post-production sort of realm these days, so I don't do a massive amount, but when I was in the studio environment and recording bands, recording individuals, I think it's par for the course that you just record multiple takes.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you've got that backup further down the line. And I was always of the mindset as well. I'd even record when they were warming up, and specifically with vocalists. I don't know if you ever did that, but I'd always record when they were warming up in case you get that like perfect take when they're trying to do a demo. You can never get it again. I'd always do that. But when it came to comping, I always did that in the editing phase. So I wouldn't do any comping or any of that during the recording phase. And I wouldn't also do it in the mixing phase because I sort of compartmentalize it: recording, editing, mixing, mastering. For me, if I'm producing my own stuff, there's some production in there somewhere, but I always comp it in the editing phase, bounce it in place, so it's just one solid track as such, audio region, and then move on to the mixing phase. I'm assuming Cubase is probably the same, but even bouncing it in place, I've still got access to the old pre-comped takes if I do need them, but I then hide them in Logic.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my work. I don't think there's a massive amount to go through, really. It's just a case of, I suppose one question would be how many takes is enough? When do you stop? Because sometimes I've had this specifically with guitars, right? Where, because I'm an okay guitarist, but I'm always searching for that perfect take, and sometimes I need to know when actually, you know what, no, enough's enough. How many takes is too many? I suppose that's a good question. But I'll get your thoughts on it, Tim. What are your thoughts on comping and just that process?
For me, I mean, a bit like you, I will sort of roll when I'm doing a session, probably from the beginning, just in case anything start happening. I want to capture anything that might be good, because sometimes when people are relaxed and not thinking about it too much, they come up with better stuff than when they go, right, red light's on, first take, got to get this right, so I would do the same as you. I won't comp, like, obviously initially when we're in a vocal session, I would sort of do one take, then another take. Probably, personally, I tend to do about 3 takes, if possible, the whole way through the song. So that you kind of get a performance element, because I think you want to get that sort of performance in the vocal. I think after 3 takes all the way through a song, a lot of vocalists will be losing their stamina, losing their thing, and you've got to watch out that you don't overdo anything on the vocalist and start to tire their voice out. So, but then I think I generally stop and have a break with the vocalist and go through those 3 takes and actually say, have we got something that we like here? And maybe I will do a bit of comping at that point and sort of comp with them through the vocal take, so that we've maybe got a vocal take we can listen back to. And if we've got a vocal take we can listen back to and we go, we're happy, great, we move on. More than likely we're going to find we've got a few little bits and pieces that aren't quite right. Hopefully we've got an overall take in there between the 3 takes that we can put together, and then maybe we drop in any parts that aren't that good. So if we've got a few little problems, to fix, we'll just do them, and then at the end of the session, hopefully that's it. You've got that vocal take. But of course, you've also got to think, most vocal sessions, you've got to do the main vocal, then you've got to do a double of the main vocal for, people always forget to double track things. Like,
I know.
I get this a lot when people send me things and they go, oh, it's all right, I just copied it onto this other track. And I go, no, you do realise that's just rubbish. It will not help in any way, shape or form. We've got the same track twice, so that just is like louder, possibly, it's not going to help. So, that thing of double tracking is not easy to fake in the studio either. It's best to do it, literally, to go, right, I've got which is why I think it's helpful to comp your vocal take if you can in the studio to get a pretty solid idea. I wouldn't bounce it necessarily at that point, but then I'd do a double against it and try and get a decent double. And then you've got to think of all the backing vocals, and you've got to double all the backing vocals and do all of that stuff. And I would do all of that religiously, every vocal, every backing vocal, double every single one of them, and get all of the stuff that I want there and during the recording session, so that it's all there when it comes to a bit more editing, obviously, later on, and then mixing. But I think, like you, I would separate. I mean, the editing is probably what I do at the beginning of a mixing session a lot for me. I get a folder and then I go through it all before I start mixing. But I know what you mean. I don't want to be deciding on takes in the middle of mixing.
No, this is it. I felt like if I was in the flow of mixing a vocal and then suddenly I've got to quickly go in and comp this when I'm in there trying to, just get in the flow of things and just listening to that static mix and getting everything working together. I don't want to have to then stick my cans on and then dive into a comp to make sure it's all. That's why, I kind of like them having. I mean, there's no reason you can't do it, but for me, like you said, that it's not something I want to go through sections, because this reminds me of a story I heard. And I think it was Billie Eilish's recordings and Phineas, because they do it. Hats off to them, great production. They do it all themselves. But I heard something along the lines of that they have hundreds of comps in their takes, which is quite interesting, which makes me think they must be doing it in tiny sections. And that I suppose that's what I've always done when it comes to recording instruments, that I do it section by section. Is that something you follow as well, or have you ever done a whole track in one and then just another one and then taking the best bits?
I mean, I will do, but a lot of the time when I'm recording myself, like I'm putting guitar parts, bass parts on things like certainly keyboard parts. My keyboard playing wouldn't manage a whole track. But I definitely, I will just work on a section till I get it right. And I'm quite happy doing that, like with guitars and bass and things. I don't know, it's weird, like some things I tend to play a bit more all through like bass for some reason. I can't tell you why, but I tend to sort of, if I know what I'm doing and how the track goes, how the song goes, I might actually, if I was putting some bass down or something, play the entire way through it maybe, and then go back and work on sections until. But I do like that kind of thing of getting something in there the whole way through. But like, I often end up going back and working on a section until it's right. Until I feel like I've nailed it. Yeah.
The bass one's interesting because it reminds me of when I was in the band and our bassist would come in and he'd just rock up and then he would just fly through the track. Not all of them, but certainly a lot of them in just one take, and then do another take and another take after that. And it must be something to do with like the vibe, I guess, when they get locked in. Yeah. I'm not a bassist. I do the same. I play bass when I need bass, depending on the genre of track I'm working on. I'll play bass, and then usually I'd just say, mate, my bass is rubbish. Can you come in and replace it? I'm just getting ideas down. But there is something about it that you just I sort of get locked in as much as I can, and then I just want to continue. Yeah. And then move on from that.
I think it's something about the transitions that happen when you're thinking of like, verse into chorus, into bridge, and whatever, like, these sorts of things that when certainly on bass, it's quite important. I guess it's important on guitar, but like, you've got to think bass often is keying in with the drums, and often the drums are playing over those changes and giving you the feel of moving. If you've got live drums, that is, over sort of from the end of the sort of verse into the chorus or something, and maybe you're sort of playing over the changes a bit. So like you sort of want to play over them rather than just go, right, I'm doing this for the verse, this for the chorus, that kind of thing. Yeah. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know, getting in the groove of it, in the feel of it, and locking with the drummer and that kind of thing, which is very important with bass. But, I mean, some people are just, I've recorded musicians who just like, amazing at just nailing things like really quickly. Or if they haven't nailed it, they know what they did wrong in their first take, and they'll go back and do another take, and they'll fix all the things that went wrong in the first take for the second one, and amazing like that. But I do tend to work a bit more on individual bits until I've nailed them.
Yeah, I would say I do the same. I remember the drummer in my band was like that, and he'd be able to just on the button to the click because it was metal, knock them out, and I'd be like, oh man, now I've got to come record my guitar parts, and then everything slows down when it comes to recording me playing guitar. I'm like, no, we need to break that down section by section. Or like use better speed because I can't quite play it fast enough.
Exactly. I mean,
are you struggling to make your tracks sound professional while holding down a day job? Ooh, I've got something for you, a free 20-minute music breakthrough strategy call. In this call, I'll review your workflow, pinpoint what's holding you back, and give you one actionable tip that will level up your music without spending hours in the home studio and trawling YouTube tutorials. If you're serious about creating playlist-worthy music and saving time, as time is precious, grab your free music breakthrough strategy call now. Spots are limited, so click the link in the episode description before they are all gone.
But like with vocals, another thing you've got to be really careful with the vocals is things like recording and getting a slightly different sound or a different feel on, like you take a break, you come back, you go down the pub and come back. I've had that in sessions, and like I would just like leave that there and I'll come back to it, and then I'll keep that vocal. And I mean, one guy who like used to sort of do multiple takes on his vocals over days and days and days, and like he would have 99 takes on a vocal, literally like insane amount of takes on the vocal. But of course, they're recorded on different days, and like it'd sound totally different on one day to another. I'd often say, you do realise all of these takes don't work with all of these takes. They just don't sound good. So you've got to keep that feeling, haven't you, of it being one thing. It wants to feel like one thing at the other end. So got to watch your transitions.
I'd agree, and I noticed that more so, for example, doing the podcast stuff, and when I listen to episodes I've recorded previously, and I had a bit of an issue with my throat, and I could tell when I was in the throes of the issue. I say my throat, just above my vocal cords, and I had ulcers on them basically, and I could tell when this was happening when I was listening back, because my voice was just getting like huskier and huskier, which some might sounded quite nice, but to me it may sound nice, but it wasn't pleasant for me. But I could tell little things like that. Matters less so for a podcast, but it certainly makes a difference. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say errors, or rather things to watch out for, and when it comes to comping. And this is one in particular I thought was quite important, because I was sent a session, a Logic Pro session, because sometimes I do that. If they're using Logic, I'll say just send me the session, specifically if they're using Logic Pro plugins, because I can just open it up and I can go in and work with what they have. And they had they were comping the vocal in there. And what I noticed in particular was the lack of adherence to the. I'm assuming it's the same in other DAWs, but where you have those, where you are comping those takes, and where you're placing I guess you call it the comp line. I don't actually know what it's called, and making sure that it doesn't go over a wavefile, like an actual a waveform, the waveform itself. Because what I was finding is where they haven't gone in and dug in enough, they were comping it so that it was sort of like, if they had a particular phrasing, it was halfway through the word, and then it was just sounding really odd. So one thing that I've noticed on more than one occasion when individuals have sent me their projects, is that they're not due diligence, paying enough time to actually where they're positioning those lines when it comes to comping, and make sure it's not across a waveform, because then you get weird clicks, pops, and all sorts of stuff happening. So that's just one thing to watch out for that I've seen. Might be useful for the audience listening.
You can also, you need to sometimes think of, where it goes from verse to chorus or something like that, or even the ends of lines. Sometimes you've got this weird thing of needing to cross over. I know in reality as a vocalist you can't do that, but maybe it's just me and my appalling breath control, but I find it useful sometimes. You're kind of singing and you go really this note wants to kind of carry on just a little bit, but then I want to have come in sharp with the next vocal. So actually, of course, you're not going to be able to do that all on one line. So you actually create another channel. Just do your verse part 1 and verse part 2 comes in on channel 2, and then chorus comes in on another channel. So you've got these sort of ones where there's just a little overlap between like vocals, and I mean, often that happens in songs, and there's no reason why not to do it. And you can make it sound entirely natural, but like if you're going to do that, you'll need a few channels to split your takes across. You know, rather than just trying to do them all on one, and then having these awkward bits where it sort of just. It doesn't feel like a good intersection as one thing cuts off and the other comes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no amount of flex time or what have you, or moving it about, is going to be able to fix it later
just
on.
Try to avoid all that that kind of fixing.
That is, I've said it on the podcast before, but it's like if you've got the time and you know you need to do it, just get it right at source. Just re-record it. That's my thought process. If you can, I appreciate not everybody can. Maybe they paid for studio time and they cannot go back in, or they haven't got access to X, Y, Z, or I don't know.
Here's a question:
dropped off the planet of the Earth, which does happen.
Indeed. Here's a question for you: well, if you're tracking vocals like that, doing your session, do you apply auto-tune while you're tracking so that the person is singing live through auto-tune? Which some people do, or do you take no auto-tune while the person's singing, but when you play the take back, do you put auto-tune on it, a little bit of auto-tune, so that they sound nicely in tune?
Yeah.
Or do you put no auto-tune on it, and so all of the faults are laid bare, and hopefully you kind of get it as close to as good as possible before any tuning goes on it?
The short answer is no. What I do is, and I was quite a stickler for this. I'll be on the talkback mic. It'd be close, but maybe just one more time. That's usually what it was. Yeah. But in the cans, it's usually I would just go with reverb.
Yeah, like, just a bit of reverb
in there. Yeah. Like reverb sweetens everything. It is the elixir of audio when it comes to the recording. But in my head, I've never actually used auto-tune when recording, but I'm thinking, actually, if I did that, then if it's kind of correcting that recording and they are slightly off, that means I've now committed to using that auto-tune.
Yeah, and you've got that dodgy piece of audio that probably wasn't very good in the first place. Yeah.
However, I can see the benefit of using it when you play it back to them from a psychological perspective, because they might be thinking, I'm not on it today, I'm not feeling it, I can't hear it, and then they come back in and you're like, no, have a listen. It sounds great. So psychologically, I can see how it would work in that respect, but no, I don't think I'd.
Once I tend to track with if I'm in a studio and got the option, it depends how you're doing it, but like if I've got the option of outboard, bit of compression and a little bit of EQ and, and then obviously some tracking reverb, not so that you're actually recording it, but like so that you can just listen to it while you're putting down your vocal, then I will sort of, as I say, try and comp it with them a little bit, while once we've got a few takes in there, and then do any fixes, and then I will put auto-tune on as we're listening back. If it and try to sort of go, well, look, when we've got this all sort of fairly tidied up and with some tune on, does it actually work? Does it sit there? Because if anything isn't working at that point, then I know it's beyond probably what auto-tune is going to solve. And we really need to go in and fix it. But I won't use it while we're essentially tracking, because I'm just trying to get the vocal take as good as possible. Yeah. But afterwards I will have a little listen back with it on, because if it's going awry or not working too well, you need to know, perhaps.
Indeed, yeah. You kind of want to know. It probably goes against what I was saying earlier with regards to getting it right at source. But if you're recording something and then you do that, like you say there, and then you realise, you know what, this isn't going to work. No matter, like I've done this now, Now we should fix it rather than
now
thinking,
we still need to get that bit nailed.
Definitely.
But also it can, you're right, it can make them feel better because it can sort of sit it in and they can sweeten it a bit and they can go, oh, that sounds good.
The psychology of the studio.
Psychology, yes.
Indeed. It's a very that red light syndrome. As soon as that red light goes on, and you're in the headlights, so to speak. But I think we've pretty much exercised. We've exhausted. That's what I was looking for. Comping. So, what was the original question? How do you organise takes? Well, we've been through that. And do you do that in the editing phase and then get rid of the unused takes? So, I think we both pretty much agreed it's in the editing phase. But you mentioned there again that you also do some of it in the recording phase just to get an idea of what it could sound like, and if you are double tracking as well. Double tracking, that's what I was going to come back to just before we finished. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the school of recording that I went to, but I just double track everything. I think it's just a given.
Exactly.
Even if I'm never going to use it. I'm just
even if you don't use it. Yeah, exactly.
With guitars and bass as well, even if I have no intention of ever using the DI, I will DI bass and guitar just so I've got a clean signal.
Right, yeah.
I always do that as well. I think it's just something that has just been drilled into me.
I mean, guitar tracks, I just think are always worth double tracking. I mean, obviously, bass is something we don't really double track, and drums as well, unless
double tracking drums.
But but everything else, I mean, tambourine, don't try to double track that. But like vocals and guitars, acoustic guitars sound lovely double tracked. You can try all kinds of fun things with double tracks as well. You don't actually have to. It's like the Nashville thing where you've got one acoustic guitar in one tuning and then one in a Nashville tuning, and they double track playing, but because the tunings of the strings are different, although they're playing the same chords, they end up sounding really nice, sort of like a 12-string kind of effect. And that, but there is no button in the studio, no plug-in that really makes double tracking for you, because it's that variance of timing and pitch, only subtle, but that gives you this lovely wide sort of thing when you pan it out.
I haven't recorded. I've been meaning to get an acoustic guitar again. I haven't recorded acoustic guitar in years, but I always found enjoyment in recording acoustic guitars and testing different microphone configurations. I always found that really fun. I love doing that because acoustic guitars can sound absolutely incredible, and just they do, and just experimenting with microphone configurations, microphone placement is so good. That's probably the bit I enjoyed the most when I was in the studio. I'd say the tangent here, probably the least, was recording drums, to be honest. Just a lot involved. That's probably why I now just do posts. Somebody rang me today asking if I could help them with regards to recording, and I was just like, I'll be honest with you, I do. Send me your stems when you're done, and then we'll move on from there. Again, a tangent. Tim, I think we've exhausted comping there.
Yes, we have.
You mentioned a few things in there that I think I've got penciled in for future discussions. One was compression going in when recording. So we won't touch on that now, but it is a question that I think we're going to cover in a later discussion, because it's on my list, my notes, which would be quite an interesting one.
Definitely.
But as always, before we wrap things up, any releases, anything going on?
Yes. I don't know when this is coming out. When will this be out? This episode?
Let me check.
Yeah. This is dropping.
I really need to put this in the notes. 5th of August.
5th of August. Well, it should be out by then. If I don't mess it up, I'm planning, I think, for a release of my album on the 1st of July, 1st of August, Friday the 1st of August. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And so I've been working on an album for quite a while now, and I think it's I keep changing the title, so I'm not going to commit to the title at the moment. But like the it might be called Paradise Cove at the moment. That is the leading one. It's been called 9,000 Deep and Paradise Cove, so they're totally different vibes to it. It's kind of because it's got a very sort of light side to it and a darker side to it. So I'm just trying to find something that works for it. But it's very coastally connected. Indeed. This album, so and quite a few singles have already been out from it, but there's a whole load of new stuff on it as well that no one's ever heard. And that's going to be coming out on Spotify and Apple and all the rest of it, and then it's also going to be out on my Bandcamp. But so that's very exciting. I haven't released an album since somewhere in the 90s when I was at university on cassettes, so
love it.
So it's going to be quite something for me to actually put an album together, so it's been taking me a while, but I think it's going to be worth it. I think it's going to be a good
definitely, mate.
Good album.
I think it's a good time to release a coastal themed album as well, 1st of August. But no, I'll put links to it in the show notes as well, so audience do go and check that out. Some great stuff on there. We've already included links to some of the releases already on previous episodes. So if you check those out, you know what to expect. Yeah, indeed. Exciting times, mate. It's a lot of work that goes into an album. It's been a while, probably over 10 years since I released an album. And there were 5 of us doing it then, as opposed to 1. So
I've done so many albums for other people, it's untrue. Just I've lost count. But my own just hasn't happened in the meantime.
No, fair play, mate. There's a lot that goes. When I did the EP at the end of 2003, I was at school then, and in 2023, a lot went into that, and that was only 4 songs. So a full album.
Good EP, though. Great EP.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, thank you very much. Folks, if you've got a question, I mentioned this at the beginning, that you'd like us to hash out, do click that SpeakPipe link, send us an audio message. Alternatively, just click the send message button and you can send us a question. And you can also give yourself a shout out as well. Maybe you've got something going on that you want announced on the podcast. Tim, thank you very much. Until next time, folks, stay inspired, keep creating and keep experimenting inside the mix.